The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Game Podcast Network is brought to you by Like Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code SGPN. Get 3% bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought by Edge Boost. Earn $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. At edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leading data from picks and props. Try it out for free for a week by going to sports.com. RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Game Podcast from the Sports Game Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday afternoon, roughly 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time on February 8th. I'm your host, always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Should be a short episode, only one match to talk about. It's officially final time in Rotterdam. So I'm going to preview the match between Alcaraz and de Minaur, taking place on Sunday. For that, though, do want to recap what happened last week, last episode, for the semifinals, both for the actual lock and dog picks and for the matches. Starting off with the actual lock and dog. Unfortunately, the sweep streak came to an end. In fact, we got reverse swept as we lost both the lock and dog. Said on the show, though, I ended up taking a lock as the first four games in the Alcaraz match, 2-2, minus 150 on FanDuel. I told all of you to wait, though, for a better price. DraftKings did eventually post minus 105 later. So you got minus 105 instead, which is a price I absolutely love. Either way, though, point is the bet did lose, as Alcaraz no-showed the first 15 minutes of the match, basically, and you saw Hurkacz break to love in Alcaraz's first service game. No regrets there, as he ended up getting a breaker in the second set as well, to kind of just hammer home the point of both guys holding regularly throughout the course of the matchup. But unfortunately, Alcaraz was really flat to start, and that did sabotage the lock. So either way, picked up a loss there. For the dog, not even close, had the over in the Bellucci and de Minaur match at 21.5 at plus 105. Wasn't close. De Minaur killed him. Nothing else to really add there. I think it was 6-1, 6-2. It was over quickly, and Bellucci really never threatened at any point in the match. So either way, that was not close. The lock, though, really no regrets at that price at minus 105, especially if you grab that on DraftKings. I'll bet that every time. Unfortunately, though, did lose both the lock and dog picks. Now, for the actual semifinal recap, I do want to at least point out that one match, once again, was very competitive, and the other was really not. So de Minaur absolutely buried Bellucci, 6-1, 6-2. Once again, it was one-way traffic from the get-go, and in fact, you ended up seeing de Minaur face 0 break points in the entire match. Bellucci faced 4. He saved 0 of them. Big reason, Bellucci's second serve was useless the entire match, as Bellucci had a grand total of 24% second serve points won. He lost 76% of the time when he had a second serve. So keep that in mind. That's how bad the second serve was. de Minaur was all over it, and eventually did coast to a nice easy win for him. For the other match, though, you saw Alcaraz dominate, I should say, the later stages of the first set, and I'd say most of the third set. But Hurkacz was up a ton early. Alcaraz, as I said before, was completely flat to start the match. Hurkacz was up 4-1 with love 40 to go up 5-1. And he lost the set, which is kind of crazy. In fact, Hurkacz went from up 4-1 love 40 to losing the next 5 games in the first set, as Alcaraz came all the way back and won at 6-4 in the first set. Then it looked like Alcaraz was going to potentially win in straight sets, as you ended up seeing a bunch of holds in the second set, but Alcaraz did have a mini break there in the 5-4 spot, double faulted it back, then ended up hitting an unforced error. I should say it was a good volley by Hurkacz, and then Alcaraz missed the shot. The point is, though, Hurkacz went from down a mini break to winning the second set, and then Alcaraz immediately got a break in the first return game in the third set, and then eventually did hold on to win 6-3 in the third. So once again, fun matchup there between Alcaraz and Hurkacz. They tend to have a couple of marathon matches, and that's kind of what was annoying about losing the actual lock, because I did like the over in the match at 21.5 games. I did like the Hurkacz spread, which ended up getting there 2 at 4.5, as he lost by 4. So I got everything right in that match except for the actual lock, which was the 2-2. So pretty annoying there, but either way, point is we had one fun match, one horrible match, and hopefully we get a good one here for the final on Saturday. I should say the final on Sunday, but those are the matches were Saturday once again. Pretty, I'd say, a mixed bag between the two of them. One good, one bad. Anyway, nothing else to really recap there for the actual semis. Once again, not going to cover the Dallas Open. I know Ruud actually just beat Munar in the first semifinal matchup there. So Ruud will be in the final, taking on the winner of Shapo and Paul. However, I do want to quickly touch upon the outright update, because we do have a couple of outrights that are still alive. Starting off with the outright in Dallas. Now, once again, we did lose a couple already, but we do have a couple that gave it a good run, ended up falling short. However, we do have one guy that's still alive entering the actual semifinal match, so hopefully ends up surviving. But we had Shelton, who lost early. We had Makic, who lost yesterday. And we had Paul at 7-1, who takes on Chapo in the semis later on tonight. So hopefully Paul ends up making it back to the final and wins the second straight title in Dallas. But we'll see what happens. Point is, though, Paul is still alive at 7-1. We did not have Ruud, so we'll see what happens there as the matches unfold in Dallas. As for the outrights in Rotterdam, good news, we automatically win. So starting off with the actual bad news, Wladimir Heshka at 26-1. He got injured and quit. Pericard withdrew, so we actually got a refund on Pericard. However, for the two finalists, Alcaraz and de Minaur, we have both of them. So we have Alcaraz at plus 195, and we have de Minaur 10-1. So you automatically win entering the final. So if you do want to potentially, I don't want to say hedge, but if you want to reallocate, once again, how much you have on each guy to guarantee further profit, if you like Alcaraz to win or de Minaur, you can, but you should automatically have a winning ticket with Alcaraz and de Minaur, and hopefully, once again, de Minaur wins for the 10-1 price. Either way, though, time to actually get into the preview of the final in Rotterdam. For that, though, do remind me once again that you can show support for the show by subscribing on YouTube. And a reminder, podcast is also available on audio-only formats in Spotify and Apple. So if you do want to find the podcast, you can search up SGPN Tennis Game Podcast for Spotify or Apple. If you want to listen to it on the go, if you're doing a workout or something, you can do that too. The point is, you can find it on multiple platforms. You can also show support and some feedback on multiple platforms. You can leave a comment as well on your rating to let us know what you think of the tennis show. You can also, once again, subscribe on YouTube. I think we're around 760 for subscribers. So once again, trying to get to 800 by the end of February. Hopefully you can help us get there, and hopefully you have enjoyed the content. So either way, point is, you can show support for the show by once again leaving some feedback both on YouTube and on Spotify or Apple. Plus, a reminder to check out the actual merch store on the SGPN website. We have a lot of great Tennis Game Podcast merch, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs. We also have this mini helmet over here that you can get once again for home decor. Point is, though, a lot of items you can get on the actual merch store, and they're all affordable, and recommend getting yourself something. Plus, there's also a good deal or good promo going on for the Super Bowl, because we're having a free squares pool for the Super Bowl, $1,000 winner take all for the final score square. Just go to sportskings.com/squares to sign up today. Once again, it's in case you don't know what squares actually are. Basically, you have to get the final digit of both teams to match up on a grid, and you get possession of one grid spot. So if you end up getting the final digit of the Chiefs and the Eagles correctly when the game ends, you win $1,000. Now, you could argue, what's the odds of that? Pretty slim. Maybe, but it's free. So you have a free chance to basically cash in a lottery ticket. So once again, recommend getting yourself a spot before all the grid spots are gone. Plus, a reminder that if you end up looking at the actual squares and there is a completed grid, once again, there are no spaces left, that's fine, because SGPN will be having another $1,000 free squares pool if there are 200 entries already. So there will be another one released if you end up getting enough signups. Once again, keep that in mind. You can win potentially $2,000 if you are entered in both squares. So once again, just keep that in mind for the Super Bowl. If you have no action, you want some free chances to win $1,000, check out the squares pool at sportskings.com, so squares, to sign up today. Also, a reminder, we're brought to you by DraftKings, because DraftKings is a great place to bet on the Super Bowl. Because if you want to get action on Super Bowl 59, DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sporting partner of the Super Bowl. So once again, keep that in mind. You can also bet on touchdowns, which is a key factor to actually winning the title. And if you do want to have a chance to win big by betting on touchdowns, go to DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet on touchdowns. There's also a great deal for DraftKings and new customers. If you bet $5, you get $200 of bonus instantly. So once again, $5, $200 of bonus bets, no questions asked, which is definitely a great promo. But in order to do that, you do have to go to the app. You have to use the code SGP on sign up. And when you do use the code SGP for new customers, you get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
We're also brought to you by Rhythm. If you want to try out betting models, you can definitely use Rhythm to help you with that, because Rhythm can help you build your own model. You can copy one from the leaderboard, or let Rhythm build one for you in seconds. But they also have a lot of AI-generated props to help you with some advanced data to actually cash some props. So if you want to get NFL picks, NFL props, college basketball, and NBA, they also have, once again, spreads and totals and money lines. So it's not just props, but they have that included. So if you want some thoughts on the Super Bowl, you're not exactly sure what you want to take, you can let AI decide for you by going to Rhythm and letting their algorithm determine what bets are the most profitable. Either way, though, you can also try it out for free for a week. If you are skeptical, go to Sports Games Club's Rhythm, sportsgames.com, RATHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Just finished recapping what happened in the semifinal matches on Saturday in Rotterdam. Time to move on into the final preview in Rotterdam between Alcaraz and de Minaur. So starting off with the actual betting lines here, you have Alcaraz at around minus 300. You have de Minaur at around plus 250. For the spread, minus 3.5 for Alcaraz, plus 3.5 for de Minaur. Over-unders around 22.5, minus 110 on both sides. For the set spread, Alcaraz in straight sets even money. De Minaur to win ace sets, minus 130. The over 2.5 sets is plus 145. Now, for the actual head-to-head history, they have some recent history, actually, and the matchups have been close. They faced off on clay a couple of years ago, back in Barcelona, 2022. Pretty bad choke job, actually, by de Minaur, as Alcaraz was down to the brink, came back and won in 3. Face off in London in 2023, Alcaraz won on grass in straight sets. Face off in an exhibition, though, this year before the Aussie Open, and ended up seeing Alcaraz lose in 3 to de Minaur. It was really 2+. It was a doubles format, so once again, it was a regular 2 sets, and then a tiebreaker to 10 in the third set. So basically, once again, it went to a deciding set in that exhibition they had earlier this year, about a month ago. So based on the overall head-to-head history, you should expect a pretty competitive battle. Now, for the actual form of both guys, de Minaur has been in great form as he ended up not dropping a set in the first 4 matches, beat Goffin, beat Mensik, beat Altmaier, and beat Bellucci. Pretty weak competition. Mensik is a good hardcore player. Bellucci did beat Medvedev and Tsitsipas, but still a relative unknown. You definitely would love that draw. I definitely did, with a de Minaur 10-1 ticket in my pocket, having a qualifier in the semifinals. So once again, a pretty good path against a guy ranked 92 in the world in the semis. Pretty favorable draw for de Minaur, but Altmaier, clay specialist, Mensik's good hardcore player, and Goffin, who is washed at this stage in his career. For Alcaraz, though, pretty weird path. Had a marathon win against Hurkacz in the last match in the semis. Probably should have lost in straight sets if you want to factor in the choke job by Hurkacz. Once again, up 4-1. Love 40 on Alcaraz's serve, and he lost 5 straight games to punt the first set. So Alcaraz arguably could have lost that match. Beat Martinez and Vavasori 6-2, 6-1, 2 clay specials or double specials, however you want to phrase it. But point is 2 cakewalks in the quarters and in the round of 16. And he had a war against Zanchulp. Similar story. Should have lost the first set and arguably the match in straight sets. Zanchulp was serving for the set. He choked and then eventually won the second, got killed in the third. So Alcaraz has been vulnerable despite making it to the final. So I think he can once again be on upset alert here against de Minaur, who's been fantastic. Now, yes, the overall schedule has been easy for de Minaur, not really his fault, but a reminder, he is also the defending runner-up from last year. So back-to-back finals here in Rotterdam for de Minaur. So he's very comfortable and very sharp on the courts here, which can make him very live to win this match outright. Now, Alcaraz, we saw in the Hurkacz match, kind of flip certain gears. He was really bad to start. Then he ended up flipping the switch late first set and early second. Then he kind of reverted back to being a bit out of sorts late in the third, and then late in the second, and then he blew it open in the third. So Alcaraz was very erratic over the course of the match, and eventually his red line game was just too solid for Hurkacz to handle. But I do think there are some openings for de Minaur to capitalize on, especially if the forehand goes awry for Alcaraz. Both guys not the best servers. Alcaraz can be okay with the first serve. Second serve, not great. He tried to work on it. De Minaur, though, we know is not exactly a good server. He's improved in the area, faced 0 break points in the last match against Bellucci. But I think we all know there will be some break point chances, I'd say aplenty, in this matchup. So if you end up getting a breaker in this matchup, expect at least 1 break balancing out for each guy. I don't see each guy holding 6 times in a row. So expect some breaks and some breakpoint chances in this one. But for the matchup, Alcaraz is 2-1 in the head-to-head. He's really 2-0. He lost the last meeting, which was the exhibition back about a month ago. But once again, it's an exhibition. It doesn't really mean much to me. I think Alcaraz and de Minaur were kind of going arguably 60%, maybe. It's an exhibition in Australia. You're trying to put on a show, especially for the Aussie crowd with De Minaur being there. So I don't really think it means anything, but they faced off in London on grass. Alcaraz, we know, has won back-to-back Wimbledon, so I don't know if that's really a fair, I'd say, comp. But they faced off on clay years ago. That went to a deciding set. Don't know if that's really fair either. So it's tough to find a full, I'd say, way to break down the previous head-to-head meetings to find value for this hardcourt indoor match. Now, Alcaraz has not really had many successes on indoor hardcourt. I believe he's actually, I don't know if he's ever won an indoor hardcourt event, actually, but I think you're looking at a spot where Alcaraz is worthy of being a favorite. Is 290 too big? Probably. I think based on what Alcaraz looked like in good competition, Martinez and Valdivia are buys as far as I'm concerned. Dzanchop's given him problems in the past. He's also kind of up and down, mostly a challenger guy at this point, and that went to a third set. And Hurkacz is a very solid player, and that went to a marathon as well. So I think that Alcaraz should be favored. I'd have minus 210, minus 220. I think 290 is too high. I think that De Minaur can make it competitive. I think he might win a set here. He's favored to win a set at minus 130. So I do think you're looking at what should be a war. I find it weird, though, that De Minaur to win a set's minus 130, but Alcaraz money line is minus 290. Feels a bit harsh. I think you're looking at De Minaur being live, and I think he can pull this off. Will he? I'll say no. I think Alcaraz will eventually find some openings on big points to eventually win in what could be a marathon's three-setter. But I don't really see any value on Alcaraz for the money line at 290. I think the argument would be for the straight sets at even money. I don't mind that maybe if you think De Minaur does lose in straight sets, but I think you're looking at a close matchup. I don't mind the over 2.5 sets at around plus 145. I think you're going to see a marathon here. Don't really like the games, though, for Alcaraz at 3.5 either, because I think that De Minaur can, once again, win a set to throw a wrench into the spread. Or, if you want to go for the team total, I don't want the team total over for both guys. Maybe De Minaur ends up going over the 10.5. Maybe end up getting an over there for Alcaraz at 12.5. But I see a close matchup here between two guys that have looked good in the event. Alcaraz, though, you could argue, has been vulnerable, and yes, he has. Hurkacz, though, is the best player that either guy's faced in the event because De Minaur's had a pretty easy path up to this point, which can, once again, sway the overall, I'd say, breakdown of De Minaur's performance in the event because he hasn't really been challenged at all against any top 10, really top 20 guys at this point. So I think you're looking at Alcaraz being a pretty big step up in competition, where you're looking at Alcaraz having a pretty tough battle against a top 10 caliber guy in the semis against Hurkacz. On the other hand, he was very up and down in that match, and you also had to expend a lot of energy in that matchup. But Mensik ranked 47. That's the best opponent that he's faced in the event. So De Minaur has not faced a single guy in the top 40 so far in the event. Now he's against Alcaraz. So it's a pretty big step up in competition, but I think that De Minaur, with his experience and success on this court in the past, making the finals last year, should be a very tough out. I'm picking him to eventually get out. I think that Alcaraz will beat him, but I think it's going to be a close one. Give me the over and give me a marathon like we called in the Hurkacz match against Alcaraz in the semis. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the actual preview of the final. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. For that, though, I want to remember once again, they're brought to you by Edge Boost, because if you're trying to, once again, gamble with the concern of your credit card being declined, you can avoid that concern by using Edge Boost, because Edge Boost is the premier Visa debit card for bettors. Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, Squid site, racetrack, and casino. You'd also earn cashback rewards, $750 per month in cashback rewards. Once again, $750 per month is a pretty great deal in terms of cashback with your Edge Boost card. You can also know that your money is safe as the card is FDIC insured. And a reminder, best part is that there are no credit checks. It's completely free. Sign up today. Use the promo code SGPN so you get better cash rewards and instant tier 2 status at edgeboost.bet. Promo code SGPN, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Also, a reminder brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, because the big game is coming up tomorrow. Underdog has you covered. A reminder that you can also get a great new promo if you do sign up for a new account. New customers can get a Travis Kelce free pick for your entry if you sign up before the game. Plus, Underdog does have a no-sweat entry token, which is now live site-wide. You can cash in on Underdog entry or get bonus cash, so you get refunded and bonus credits if your entry loses with the no-sweat entry token. For the upcoming game, though, I've been giving it out all week. I'll do it again. Give me Jalen Hurts higher, have a touchdown, and give me the higher on that one. I think you're looking at a spot where he ends up getting into the end zone at least once with the tush push at the 1-yard line. But a reminder, when you sign up for a new account, use the promo code SGPN to claim a special chicken first time deposit offer to 1K bonus cash on a fantasy promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Just finished breaking down the final between Alcaraz and de Minaur. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Before to that, though, see a message here from Sashi asking if there's any advice on hedging the de Minaur future if he didn't take an Alcaraz future. Do you think it's worth it? I'll put it this way. I think Alcaraz is going to win. However, you get a little bit dangerous when you start trying to find ways to maybe win both bets. If you try to go for Alcaraz, for example, in straight sets, or you try to find Alcaraz to go over a team total or something, and then he dominates, you double lose. So it's pretty tough to actually find. The truth is, you have a 10-1 ticket on de Minaur already. If you really wanted the clean hedge, it's minus 290. It's really not that bad. You can partial hedge. So, for example, you can bet, I don't know how much you bet on de Minaur. Let's say you bet $100 on de Minaur to win 1,000 on your outright. You can bet 290 on Alcaraz on the money line to win 100. And that way, if de Minaur loses, you don't make any money, but you don't lose any money either. So you can partial hedge, which is not taking the exact arbitrage, but you can set yourself up an opportunity where you make more money if de Minaur wins, but if Alcaraz loses, you don't actually lose anything, and you might take a small profit. So my advice would be, I would not hedge it right down the middle. I would probably take, for example, making sure you get a free roll on de Minaur, at least what I would do, because I bet a bunch of outrights and I tend to, once again, let it ride more often than not. But I think you're looking at a spot where if you end up having $50 or $100 on de Minaur, you bet Alcaraz money line to win what you risked on de Minaur. And that way, if you lose, you basically just wipe your hands clean. You didn't lose anything. You didn't win anything. But if you end up getting de Minaur to win after you hedge, you make less money, but you still make some decent profit. That's how I would hedge that personally. But if you want to go for the even hedge down the middle, to guarantee the exact same on both, you can use an arbitrage calculator, which I can send a link in the description if you actually want it. But once again, that's how I would hedge it. It's up to you, though. It's your money. If you want to risk it on de Minaur, you can. If you want to cash out and take Alcaraz, you can do that too. But I would personally hedge it, so that way I'm still risking, or I still win more if de Minaur wins, but I don't exactly lose anything if Alcaraz wins. That's how I would go about it. That's how I would do it. But you can do it however you want to with your own money. Anyway, to get into the lock and dog picks, for the lock, I am going to pick a competitive matchup here. Said before, Alcaraz has been vulnerable against non-clay and double specialists. Against the Zandschulp, he went to 3, and against Hurkacz, he went to 3. Give me the Alcaraz team total over 12.5 at minus 130. Does seem like Caesars has the best lines consistently for team totals. Keep that in mind. But I see minus 130. I know DraftKings is minus 140, so I am going to take that before the line moves. And Alcaraz has gone over this team total in 2 of the 4 matches this event, but he also has been, once again, in some danger against good competition. He's a minus 300 favorite, and de Minaur has not dropped a set yet, so I am expecting a close battle between the two of them. You can get this if Alcaraz wins in straight sets with a 7-5 or a 7-6, which we have seen before. They had the exhibition earlier this year. That was a 7-5 first set. They faced off on clay. That was 2 separate tie breaks. So we have seen a couple of marathon sets between them, and if Alcaraz does win in straight sets, or even if he loses in a competitive 3, 12.5 is pretty attainable, and I do think that Alcaraz should find a way over. But I said before, 2 of the 3 meetings did not in straight sets. I think the team total at minus 130 is a good price. Give me Alcaraz team total over as my lock at minus 130. For my dog, I'm going to get greedy with the matchup. Said before that you have seen a couple of marathons between them, and Alcaraz had a couple of 3-setters in this event. Give me the over 2.5 sets. I love the price. Caesars also has plus 155 for the over 2.5 sets. I will take that. Alcaraz has not exactly been dominant lately. He's lost a set in 3 of his last 5, if you include the Australian Open loss to Djokovic. But he also has had a couple of marathons set up before. 2 of the 3 head-to-head meetings have gone to a deciding set. Then you're looking at what should be a close battle. de Minaur has not dropped a set yet, but he is also not facing off against great competition. Alcaraz, though, we've seen against, once again, Zandschulp and Hurkacz. When he's on, he's incredible. But there are a lot of lackluster moments and a lot of, I'd say, lapses in his game. And I do think that can, once again, be an issue against a guy as consistent as de Minaur. De Minaur can extract errors from Alcaraz early, and that can be the opening he needs to win a set. But I think you're looking at what should be a pretty fun match that comes down to the wire. Yes, I am picking Alcaraz to win in a competitive 3, but if de Minaur won, I would not be shocked, and I think you're looking at what should be a pretty competitive battle. Give me the over 2.5 sets as my dog. So once again, the plays here for the lock and dog for the Rotterdam final. Going to go with Alcaraz team total over 12.5 games, minus 130. For my dog, I'm going to go with the over 2.5 sets of plus 155. A reminder that we're basically doubling down on a competitive matchup, but not entirely, because Alcaraz can win a competitive set and a straightforward set, and we win the lock. But if it ends up going 3, I feel good about our chances of winning both. So we're going to take both those as the lock and dog. Now, for the next episode, I have to be honest, not sure what the plan is, because we do have the final in Dallas, which maybe we can do an episode on. Depends on when the lines get posted. We'll see. Not promising anything, but maybe we could have an episode in Dallas, or we have 3 upcoming events in the ATP slate for next week, which we'll break down as well, in Delray, in Buenos Aires, and I'm drawing a blank on the other one. Is it Marseille? I'm trying to remember what the final event is. Apologies, but I'll pull it up right now. It's Marseille. Yeah, so we have 3 250 events coming up next week, so we are going to have an outright episode for all 3, so don't be worried about that. But there is a chance we might have the Dallas final episode, maybe tomorrow morning, maybe. Once again, not promising anything, but it depends on when the lines get dropped. Anyway, you know where to find me. Find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can find me on... By the way, I see somebody mentioning Doha. Doha is actually the 17th. Doha is the week after what we're talking about. So Doha is going to be the first, or I should say the third 500 event. That's going to be taking place at the same time as Rio. That's first clay event of the year on the 17th. But from the 10th to the 16th, we have Marseille, we have Delray, and Buenos Aires. Those are the 3 we're going to cover. Either way, though, till next time, find me on Twitter, Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the MLB show. Find me on the WNBA show as well. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.